Peace, family.
Peace, peace. It's Akila.
This is King Supreme I. Peace, Shalom, Hotep, all that, yeah, that. Today we making this video to talk about black on black relations, and everything that comes along with that. AKA niggas ain't shit, bitches ain't shit. Y'all already know, excuse my French or whatever, but y'all know what it is. All that shit y'all not gonna hear in church and all that.
And the reason we feel like it's necessary to discuss that because with all that's going on today, it is time for us to know ourselves, know thyself, so that we can move forward. If you understand Sankofa, understand knowing your past, you can move forward. And that's only how we as a collective unit, because not everybody's asleep and not everybody's awake. So we as a collective unit can move forward.
Just like Queen was saying, this goes all back to having knowledge of thyself. If you look at African Americans today in our culture, you'll see a direct correlation with how we act and the science of a bonsai tree. Right? So what we're dealing with is basically clipping off parts of that tree, because that's what we are as human beings. We actually are trees in a metaphorical sense or whatever. You look at a bonsai tree, what they do to keep it so miniature is they clip off the roots. They keep clipping the roots and they keep clipping the tree until it only stays a certain height, a certain width, a certain level, a certain dimension. So they keep it one-dimensional by cutting off its roots. That's why it's imperative for us to know ourselves. I just wanted to say that before she started building.
Yes, that was very powerful, because that is everything. Knowing where you come from, knowing where we've been is everything. It'll teach you a lot about what we're doing right now and why things are the way that they are. So just to start first, first of all, know that our history does not begin with slavery.
Please
know that for sure.
Please.
Whatever, that's a lie, but it will take a lot. There will be another video that we'll do where we could touch on African empires and dynasties and things of that nature. But right now we're just going to discuss about the melanated man and woman here in America since slavery. So during slavery, the family dynamic had been destroyed. Be it that you got on the ship without your family, or when you got off the ship, your family was separated, or when you started a new family with the people that you were on the plantation with, the master could come at any day and be like, it's over. We're selling him off or selling her off to this other person's plantation. And that abandonment sticks. It sticks. Anybody out there who grew up without their mother or who grew up without their father, you know what I mean when I say that abandonment, that feelings of abandonment. It sticks. And if you know anything about like DNA, everything that our ancestors and we experience becomes encoded within our DNA and is passed on. It is the physical dimension of orality, how we pass on stories, how we write in books, our history, our sciences, our math, and things like that. Our experiences are written within our DNA and it's passed on through our children. And that's why sometimes you can know about something and you don't even know how you know or why you know about it, or you can have physical ailments because it runs through your family, it runs through your DNA. So when we were experiencing that as people, we continue that on through today. And that's why you can see some families where it's just the woman and the children and the man is not home, because that's how the master has set it up back in those days. The master would have a man breed with another woman and then ship him off somewhere after she became pregnant and tear that family apart. And now she is left to carry on two roles, even though she cannot. You cannot be a man and a woman at the same time. Just cannot.
Mm-hmm.
but she's trying to overcompensate because that's what women do. We want you give a lot, and so you try to give what you don't have till you are empty, till you feel. And when you become and feel empty, you become aggressive. You become bitchy. You become, well, like, I don't need no man, or I don't need nobody because I can do it all by myself.
And the epitome of all of this lack of knowledge of self comes right in hand with the fact that the powers that be, aka the people with the money, the people that have colonized not only our lands but our mental, have literally cracked the family structure apart. And the reason why this is important is because the family structure is the strongest institution on the planet. You know what I mean? It's stronger than religion, it's stronger than school, it's stronger than everything, because everything starts with the family, and truly everything starts within the womb, the metaphysics of the womb. So just to add on to what Queen was talking about, the reason why this was made possible, just like she was saying, is that they literally cracked the family structure.
And the family can be seen as the roots.
Exactly.
And if there is no roots reaching out down into the ground, the tree will not grow to the greatest potential. And how he talked about, he just said something about it's starting in the womb.
Yeah, the womb, metaphysics.
Right. And the womb is an intelligence on its own. It's sacred, it is divine, it is a palace, it is heaven. And if it's not treated as such, the woman with that womb will be experiencing hell. She will exude hell and feel hell within the inside. And I say that when you think about slave masters who went in and ravished these women and raped them, and they had basically nothing that they could do, and they didn't have their men to protect them, and they didn't have their they didn't have nothing, pretty much. And think about how that woman feels and how that man would feel knowing that he can't do nothing. And if he does do something, because there were men who fought for us. Don't think that they did not. And they died for that. They died trying to basically to save our grace.
And they don't get talked about. So it ain't like it was non-existent. They just get pushed back in the history books like all the rest of your culture and history.
So remember that, sisters, when you out there talking about, well, you ain't protect me or whatever. That man was dying inside, literally, because he couldn't do anything. And if he tried to do anything, he was lost. And sometimes he felt like it was better to have him there than to have him dead. And then you have the then you have these men out here these masters who told these men to breed with these women and then ship them off, leaving them without any responsibility, without any attachment to their family. And you see that today. I know a lot of sisters out here that grew up without a father, and I know a lot of brothers that grew up without a father.
And we know these archetypical males, these fugazi ass niggas. Every one of y'all know a nigga that just be sticking and moving. Just be, you know what I mean.
Operating in his lower chakra, imbalanced. When a man is out there having sex with all these women and impregnating them and not being there for them, he's imbalanced. He's suffering. He may not want to admit it, but he is. And how I was saying earlier about your womb, a woman's womb being a sacred place, and if it's been, like, think about if, let's say, if you're religious and you go to church every Sunday, and one Sunday you go and you see that you walked in there and everything is burned, torn, ripped apart, juice, every soda, all type of stuff just all over the sanctuary. Think about how you would feel in your Christian state of mind. Like, oh no, they just completely just ruined the temple. Well, that's what your womb is. It's a temple. And when it's not respected, then your emotions arise out of regression, out of depression, and you become sad. You feel like, as a woman, speaking from a woman's standpoint, you feel like you don't need nobody, because when somebody wasn't invited in, they hurt you. They destroyed parts of you. And that is kind of where you see like the angry black woman. She's carrying that DNA within her of a wounded wound, and she may in her own present life have experienced a wounded wound.
Yeah. And so as far as the brothers, man, like we was just saying, all of this comes from a lack of knowledge itself. In the average household, there's 2 washing machines. It's the one for your clothes, and then the TV, brain washing machine.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of credit, but not all of the credit, for this lack of knowledge goes to the TV set. And that's mostly because Hollywood, aka the sorcerers, are the ones that feed us these images from the time that we babies to the time that we old men about to die. And what it is mass brainwashing, because all you're doing is being hit with this barrage of pictures on the screen that's exalting this white image and putting on the bottom level the image of our queen, when in fact it should be the other way around. If you're a black melanated person, you need to have a picture of the most blackest person that you could find and put it at the very top of the wall at your house, so that you just look up to that every day. And this is a solid science of reprogramming your mind. See, we got to use these same techniques and tactics that this wounded beast used on us and implement it in raising our children, because that's all it is. It has to do with education and instilling this in generations. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. So what I was going to say is the reason why a lot of the brothers, I'm going to carry that in, the brothers have a lack of self-knowledge, is because what we see in the street, what we see at home, and what we see on the TV screen, and our nature is as African people, is very tribal, is very communal. You know what I mean? And so as it becomes something of a rites of passage, there's a competition innately between us men. And it's not the competition where it's Eurocentric paradigm where it's I'm better than you, or I'm greedy, or I'm selfish, but it's more of a rites of passage. I'm a man, I have to prove myself into the world. I have to give myself to the world, And so we see that today as it relates to women. And that's why a lot of black men objectify women, because we'll see them as an object. We removed our heart from the situation through thinking solely out of the left hemisphere of our brain, which deals with singling something out, being able to see the tree and not the forest. But the thing is, we have to get back to our solid culture of knowledge itself, because we see the tiger and we understand the jungle. What we're dealing with is a science where people see a tiger, yet they don't have a context of the jungle. You know what I mean? It's the two is one and the same, basically. So getting back to the competition, when I'm out politicking in my younger days with my brothers and them, and we outside just cracking up, you might feel like the man if you got the most honeys or whatever, you smashed and all of that stuff, because you look at it in terms of the hunt. We look at it like the hunt, because the hunt was a very sacred art. And so we still carry these same principles and ideals into our undertakings today.
Just in an imbalanced way.
Yeah, just in an imbalanced way. And so what we have to do is move that 180 degrees. Because that's the same thing as evil. Evil is good, but just turn it 180 degrees, and it's going to be all one and the same. It's going to be all righteous. And so the thing is that we have to have images that exalt our queens. We have to have images that exalt our kings and understand who it is that we are. Looking into the precious wisdom of our ancient developed ancestors, we see that we were king and queens. We see that we were master builders. And truly, right and truly, she is the master builder. She is the whole epitome of what a mason is. If you don't know that, that's what it is. That's all a compass and a square with the G in the middle is. She births gods. That's why this starts with the woman. because a nation cannot rise any higher than its woman. And if the woman is on the ground and we look down upon her, then that's where we're gonna be. We're gonna be down.
And that's why it's so important for queens and kings to understand the womb.
Yeah.
And why it's so important to treat it with love and respect. Because it's giving birth to everything. And if she is hurt, if she has been abused in any kind of way, she is going to deliver those type of children into the world. Children that feel empty, children looking for something outside of themselves, children just deficient in knowing themselves, deficient in their physical being, deficient in their mental, deficient in their emotions, just imbalanced from an imbalanced womb. And that's why it's so important to heal our wombs. And I know a lot of queens out there will talk about, well, I wouldn't date a man if he don't make as much money as me. Like let's seriously think about that. Think about the society that we're living in right now.
It's time out for that type shit. If you on that type vibe, get the fuck. Time out for that shit.
You have to know and understand that you live in a society where it's set up for our men to be at the bottom. They're rising us and putting a lot of pressure on the woman to do it, pretty much everything, to work, come home and take care of the children, and continue to do it all over and over and over again, to the point that she doesn't have enough time for her to even build herself, to take care of herself. And she does start to have this guard up.
Yeah, and that goes right back to gender roles. And don't be mistaken. They understand, the powers that be, once again, they understand these principles that a man has to act in. They understand the role and capacity that a woman has to act in. And so what they do with their crafty, beastly ass selves is they elevate the woman to the capacity of a provider, to the capacity of a protector financially. And they subjugate us to the level of we just want to receive. Now, all of y'all know niggas that would just like to sit the fuck around and have a cougar buy him shit, be in the house playing Madden, video games, all that other shit. Want to have the most chicks, want her to get him some J's or some Jordans and stuff like that, in tandem with having a culture that suppresses women through a religious and social economic system. Because even in the Bible, we see so much misogynistic and misanthropic elements
in the first chapter.
And that's a whole nother show.
Story. In the first chapter, they tell you the woman is a fallen man.
What's that chapter where it says and the woman shall be quiet in the church? How many times do you see the serpent in tandem with Eve? Now, this whole story could be read allegorical. Even Eve's name.
Evil.
Yeah, and this whole story is allegorical, but we try to deal with the foundation first of all of this. We can get into the whole correspondences of it, but just for face value, because they know our people take these Bible scriptures literally. What you see is you attach wickedness with the woman, and so it sets this precedence in your mind. And see, that's how powerful myth is. If I give you a myth and I tell you that the world was born in sin, everything is bad or whatever, you're going to treat the world as such, you know? But if I tell you, you grow up in a culture where the myth is the whole world is magical, everything is divine, step into your purpose and commune with nature. Nature is the face of God. Then you're going to treat the world as such.
Exactly.
And so my point is, as a man, the woman is your embodiment of nature. And so in mythology, if your first idea of nature and the earth is evil, you're going to treat it as such.
Another thing I wanted to touch on that we didn't talk about yet was kind of like the chronological order of things. Because I know a lot of people are like, man, why we stop doing for ourselves, or black people don't do nothing for themselves, or they're lazy and this, that, and the third. Like, this is why it's so important to know thyself and know where you came from, because we have had our own. Do not be mistaken. Before we got here, we had our own. And when we were free from slavery, we had our own. And Tulsa, Oklahoma is an example of that, where the whole entire town was burned down.
Mm-hmm.
They had businesses, not even just 4 or 5 business, like hundreds of businesses.
2 airports.
Hospitals,
multiple
schools,
grocery stores.
The biggest church, the church was bigger than the white neighborhood's church.
It was a brother out there getting $100,000 a week.
And they burned it all down.
And that's just Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right.
Our more science and knowledge tells us that we had a whole government set in place. We had whole colonies set in place here in this United States.
And they came and they burned it all down. And because we're such resilient people, the makers of this earth, of course we would be, we kept pushing and pushing forward. So we got to the little era of civil rights movement where we became more integrated, and some people lost sight of what we were supposed to be doing and became too integrated that they weren't building for us. But then you have brothers like Malcolm X, who birthed people that made the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army and all those things, who were setting up things for us to be protected, so that our neighborhoods could be protected, that our neighborhoods could try to flourish. And they killed them off too, or put them in jail, or use psychological warfare in order to set them up against one another, so that the whole thing could just crumble. And now and then they infiltrated drugs into our neighborhoods until it spread out to everybody. But they infiltrated these drugs that were like parasites to the mind and the body. And some of us grew up around crackheads, and we know how that was.
We are the byproduct of the crack epidemic. The war on drugs is really the war on melanin. All of these are code terms for the assault on melanated individuals. And most importantly, because this is where we're located, in the wilderness of North America. And we're going to make a part 2, because this is some real shit.
For real. So peace and love to all of y'all.
Salam.
Love yourself. Learn to know that self and where we come from. It will immensely help you to move forward. Stay tuned.
Peace.
Peace.